At my husband's funeral, I sat completely alone. My two children chose birthday parties over their father's goodbye, but they didn't know what was coming the next morning. I'm Patricia Mitchell. I'm 70 years old, and the day I buried my husband Bob in that empty funeral home in Phoenix, Arizona, I thought my world had ended. I was wrong. It was just beginning. Let me take you back to that moment. Picture this: Desert Hills Funeral Home. A Tuesday morning in September. The Arizona sun was already blazing outside, but inside that chapel, everything felt cold. There were exactly 42 empty chairs. I counted them. Every single one. Because when you're sitting alone at your husband's funeral, you count things. You count chairs, you count the seconds, you count the 47 years you spent together, you count the two children you raised, and you count the reasons why neither of them showed up. Bob's casket sat at the front of the room, covered in white roses. His favorite. I'd ordered them myself, arranged everything myself, signed every paper myself. The funeral director, a kind man named Marcus, kept giving me these sympathetic looks. You know the kind, the ones that say I've seen a lot of sad things, but this might be the saddest. My phone had been silent for 2 days. Not a single call, not a text, nothing. But let me go back further, because you need to understand how I got here. 3 days earlier, I was sitting in Bob's hospital room at Phoenix General. He'd had a massive heart attack while watering the garden. Our neighbor Linda found him collapsed by the tomato plants. By the time the ambulance arrived, I already knew. You know how sometimes you just know. 47 years of marriage gives you that kind of connection. I sat by his bed, holding his hand. The machines beeped steadily. The doctors said he had maybe a few hours. So I did what any mother would do. I called my children. Stephen answered on the 5th ring. Mom, hey, I'm actually in the middle of something. Can I call you back? Your father had a heart attack. The doctors say he doesn't have much time. You need to come home. There was a pause. I could hear voices in the background, the clink of glasses. Mom, I'm in Seattle closing the biggest deal of my career. This merger is worth $12 million. I literally can't leave right now. But I'll fly out next week. I promise. Stephen, he's dying. Today. Maybe tonight. Mom, he'll pull through. Dad's tough. Look, I really have to go. My partners are waiting. I'll call you later, okay? Love you. The line went dead. I sat there staring at my phone, not quite believing what had just happened. Then I called Jessica. Mom? Perfect timing. I'm literally at the party store picking up decorations for Emma's birthday party tomorrow. Can you believe my baby is turning 7? Where does the time go? Jessica, your father is in the hospital. He had a heart attack. It's serious, very serious. Oh no, Mom, that's terrible! Is he okay? Can I talk to him? No, sweetheart. He's unconscious. The doctors say we should prepare for the worst. You need to come say goodbye. Another pause. Longer. This time. Mom, I want to. I really do. But Emma's party is tomorrow. We've invited 40 kids. I've already paid the deposit on the bounce house and the magician. And Emma has been talking about this party for months. I can't just cancel. Your father would understand. He'd want Emma to have her special day, right? Something inside me cracked right then. Your father is dying, Jessica. I know, Mom. And I feel terrible. But I'll come visit next weekend. I promise. We'll stay the whole weekend. Tell Dad I love him, okay? I have to go. The lady at the checkout is giving me a look. She hung up. I sat alone in that hospital room with Bob. The machines kept beeping. His chest rose and fell slower each time. I held his hand and I whispered, "They're not coming." His eyes flickered open. Just for a moment. He looked at me, and I saw something in his expression I'd never seen before. Not sadness, not surprise, recognition, like he'd known all along. His lips moved, barely a whisper. They'll regret this. Those were his last words. Bob died at 8:47 p.m. on a Sunday evening, with only me by his side. I made all the arrangements alone. I called the funeral home, picked out the casket, wrote the obituary, chose the flowers, organized the service. I did everything, and I kept my phone close, thinking maybe, just maybe Stephen and Jessica would call. Maybe they'd realize what they'd done. Maybe they'd show up. The funeral was scheduled for Tuesday at 10 a.m. Tuesday morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I put on the black dress Bob always said made me look elegant. I did my hair, put on the pearl earrings he'd given me for our 40th anniversary. I kept checking my phone, nothing. I arrived at Desert Hills Funeral Home at 9:30. The funeral director, Marcus, greeted me with that sad smile. "Mrs. Mitchell, we've set everything up. It's a beautiful service. Will your family be arriving soon?" "They should be here," I lied. "Because, what else do you say?" The service started at 10. I sat in the front row. Linda, my neighbor from Maple Street, had come. Bless her heart. She sat next to me and held my hand. The minister gave a lovely eulogy about Bob, about his 40 years working as an electrician, about his love for his family, his garden, his city. I kept turning around, looking at the door. Maybe Stephen would walk through at the last minute. Maybe Jessica would rush in with flowers. The door never opened. When it was time for family to say final words, the minister looked at me expectantly. I stood up, walked to the casket, and I said what needed to be said. "Bob, you were the love of my life. 47 years wasn't enough. I'm sorry our children aren't here. I'm so sorry." My voice broke. Linda was crying. Even Marcus, the funeral director, had tears in his eyes. I buried my husband alone. The man who had worked 2 jobs to send Stephen to business school. The man who had walked Jessica down the aisle at her wedding. The man who had coached Little League, attended every school play, paid for every college textbook. I buried him alone. After the service, as they lowered Bob's casket into the ground at Greenwood Cemetery, I felt something change inside me. The grief was still there, but underneath it, something else was growing. Something I hadn't felt in years. Anger. Pure hot anger. Linda drove me home. We didn't talk. What was there to say? She walked me to my door, hugged me, and whispered, "If you need anything, I'm right next door." I walked into our house. Bob's house. Our home for 32 years. Everything was exactly as he'd left it. His reading glasses on the coffee table, his favorite chair by the window, his coffee mug in the sink, but he was gone, and I was alone. I walked into our bedroom and I finally let myself cry. Not the quiet tears from the hospital, or the funeral. Real crying. The kind that comes from your bones. I cried for Bob. I cried for our marriage. I cried for the children we'd raised who couldn't be bothered to say goodbye to their father. I cried until I had nothing left. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered through the house like a ghost. Around midnight, I found myself in Bob's office. He'd always kept this room as his private space. His desk, his files, his memories. I'd rarely come in here, but that night, I needed to feel close to him. I sat in his chair, ran my fingers over his desk, and that's when I saw it, a manila envelope propped against his desk lamp. In Bob's handwriting, "To my beloved Patricia, open after my funeral." My hands shook as I picked it up. Inside was a letter, several documents, and a business card. I unfolded the letter first. "My dearest Patricia, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you're alone. I'm so sorry, my love. I'm sorry for leaving you. But more than that, I'm sorry for what I'm about to tell you. For the past 6 months, I've been paying attention to our children. Really paying attention. And I've seen things that broke my heart. Stephen calls only when he needs something. Jessica visits only when it's convenient. Last month, when I asked Stephen to help me fix the fence, he said he was too busy. But I saw his Instagram story. He was at a golf resort in Scottsdale. 3 months ago, Jessica called, asking if we'd considered putting the house in her and Stephen's names for estate planning purposes. "Patricia, We're not even sick. We're 70 years old, not 90. But she was already thinking about our assets. I started keeping notes. I recorded conversations. I'm not proud of it, but I needed to know if I was wrong. I wanted to be wrong. I wasn't. 2 weeks ago, Stephen called me. He didn't know I had him on speakerphone. He was with Jessica. I heard her in the background saying, "Ask him about the retirement accounts." Stephen asked me how much I had saved. When I wouldn't tell him, he got angry. He said, "Dad, we're your children. We deserve to know what we're inheriting." Deserve? That word stuck with me. What do we deserve? I worked 50-hour weeks for 40 years. Your mother and I saved every penny. We gave them everything: private schools, college, down payments on their first homes. And now they think they deserve more. Patricia, I've made a decision. I've changed our will. Everything goes to you. The house, the savings, the retirement accounts, all of it. For Stephen and Jessica, I'm leaving them $1 each. Symbolic. So they know it was intentional. I've left a letter for them too, to be read after the will. They need to understand why. My love, you deserve better than children who only love you for your money. You deserve to live your life freely, without guilt. Please, don't let them manipulate you. Don't let them make you feel bad for honoring my wishes. Call Harrison Blake. He's my lawyer. He has all the documents. He'll help you through this. Trust him. Trust yourself. I love you, Patricia. I loved you from the first moment I saw you at that diner in 1977. I loved you every day of these 47 years, and if there's anything after this, I'll be loving you still. Take care of yourself. Live your life. Be happy. Forever yours. Bob. I read that letter 3 times. Then I read it again. The tears came back, but different this time. Not grief tears. Something else. Pride. Love. And yes, still, anger. But now the anger had a target. I looked at the documents Bob had left. Bank statements showing our savings, $180,000. His retirement account, $270,000. The house deed, worth at least $350,000 in the current Phoenix market. Nearly $800,000 in assets. And our children had been circling like vultures, waiting for us to die so they could claim it. The business card read, Harrison Blake, estate attorney. There was a handwritten note. Harrison knows everything. Call him. Bob. I sat in that office until the sun came up. By the time the first light filtered through the windows, I had made my decision. I would honor Bob's wishes, every single one. But that night, something happened that I didn't expect. My phone rang. It was Stephen. Mom. Hey. Listen, I'm so sorry about Dad. I've been swamped with work, but things are finally settling down. I thought maybe I could fly out this weekend and we could talk. You know, about everything. About Dad's affairs, the house, all that stuff. You shouldn't have to deal with it alone. I let the silence hang for a moment. The funeral was yesterday, Stephen. I know. I'm really sorry I couldn't make it. The timing was just impossible. But I'm here now. Well, not physically here, but I'm here for you emotionally. We should definitely get together soon. To talk about your father's affairs? Well, yeah, I mean there's a lot to figure out, right? Estate stuff, finances, I can help you through it. That's what family is for. Family. The word tasted bitter. I'll let you know. Mom, wait, this is important. We really need to discuss this soon. There are time-sensitive financial decisions that I hung up. I'd never hung up on my son before. It felt good. 10 minutes later, Jessica called. Mom, oh my God, I just heard from Stephen. I can't believe you had to do the funeral alone. I feel terrible. Emma's party was just chaos, and then she got sick, and it's been one thing after another. But I'm thinking of driving down next week. We need to talk about so many things. About Dad's estate, about the house. It's too big for you now, Mom. You shouldn't be alone in that big house. Maybe we should think about selling it and finding you a nice little apartment, or even an assisted living community, somewhere you wouldn't have to worry about maintenance and Jessica. Yeah, Mom. Your father's funeral was yesterday. Just me, the minister, and Linda from next door. That's it. That's who showed up to say goodbye to a man who spent 40 years providing for this family. Silence. Then, Mom, I said I was sorry. What do you want me to do? I can't change the past. You're right. You can't. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk. But Mom, we really need to discuss the financial. I hung up on her too. For the first time in 3 days, I smiled. A small smile, but real. The next morning, I called Harrison Blake. His office was in downtown Phoenix, in one of those modern glass buildings. Harrison was a tall man in his mid-50s, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. His office was neat, professional, with photos of his own family on the desk. Mrs. Mitchell, please sit down. First, let me say how sorry I am for your loss. Bob was a good man, one of the best clients I've ever had, and I considered him a friend. Thank you, Harrison. I found Bob's letter. He nodded slowly. Then I know he changed the will. I know about the money. I know he left everything to me. Harrison pulled out a thick folder. Bob came to see me 6 months ago. He was troubled. He told me about phone calls from your children, questions about assets, pressure to sign over property. He asked me to help him protect you. He opened the folder and spread documents across his desk. This is your current financial situation. The house on Maple Street, currently valued at approximately $350,000. Bob's retirement account, $270,000. Your joint savings, $180,000. Bob's life insurance policy, and a few other smaller accounts. In total, you have assets worth roughly $9 million. I stared at the numbers. Nearly $1 million. Bob and I had built that through decades of hard work, careful saving, living modestly. Harrison continued. Bob's will is very clear. Everything goes to you. For Stephen and Jessica, he left $1 each, symbolic amounts. Legally, it prevents them from claiming they were accidentally excluded. Bob was very intentional about this. Can they contest it? They can try. But Bob was of sound mind when he made these changes. I have medical records confirming that. We have his written testimony. And Bob left something else. Harrison pulled out a sealed envelope. This is for Stephen and Jessica. Bob wanted it read to them when the will is disclosed. He wanted them to understand why. I took the envelope. My hands weren't shaking anymore. When do we tell them? That's up to you, Patricia. We can do it formally in this office, or more informally. Some families prefer a family meeting. I thought about it. I want to do it at home. A dinner. I want to look them in the eyes. Harrison smiled. Bob said, You were strong. He was right. Over the next week, Stephen and Jessica called me every single day. Their messages became increasingly urgent. Stephen wanted to help me organize finances. Jessica wanted to support me through this difficult transition. They both wanted to come visit, together, at the same time. I finally agreed. I invited them both for dinner the following Friday night. I told them we would discuss everything then. I also invited Harrison Blake, though I didn't tell Stephen and Jessica about that part. That week, I spent time with Linda. We had coffee every morning. She'd lost her husband 5 years earlier, so she understood. You're stronger than you think, she told me one morning, as we sat in her kitchen. Bob knew that. That's why he trusted you with this decision. I'm not sure I am strong, I admitted. They're my children, Linda. I love them. Love and respect are different things, Patricia. They should have shown up. For you. For Bob. That's what family does. She was right. I knew she was right. Friday arrived. I spent the day cooking. Bob's favorite meal. Pot roast with roasted vegetables, mashed potatoes, homemade rolls. I set the dining room table with our good china. The dishes we'd received as wedding gifts almost 50 years ago. I put fresh flowers in the center. At 6 p.m., the doorbell rang. Stephen and Jessica arrived together. They'd clearly coordinated. Stephen wore an expensive suit. Jessica had a designer handbag. Mom! Jessica hugged me tightly. Too tightly. You look tired. Have you been sleeping? I'm managing. Stephen kissed my cheek. The house looks great, Mom. You're keeping it up well. We sat in the living room. I served them wine. We made small talk about Emma's party, about Stephen's business deal. Neither of them mentioned Bob. Not once. Not until I brought it up. Your father's funeral was very simple, I said quietly. They both looked uncomfortable. Jessica spoke first. Mom, we really are sorry about that. The timing was just terrible. I know, you've said. Stephen leaned forward. Mom, we need to talk about practical matters. Dad's gone, and now we need to think about your future. This house is too much for one person. The maintenance, the expenses, we were thinking you could sell it and move somewhere smaller, more manageable. Maybe one of those nice senior communities. They have activities, healthcare on site. You want me to sell our home? Not want, Mom. It just makes sense. And financially, it would give you liquid assets. You could live very comfortably. And there would be something left for us eventually. Dad would have wanted us to be taken care of too. Jessica jumped in. And we were also thinking about Dad's retirement accounts and savings. You probably don't need all of it. We could help you invest it. Or we could take a portion now to help with our own expenses. Stephen's starting a new business venture, and I'm thinking of opening a boutique. Dad always wanted us to succeed. I sat there, watching them. These were my children. I had given birth to them, raised them, loved them unconditionally. And now they were sitting in my living room, in the house their father had died in just days ago, discussing how to divide up his money. The doorbell rang again. Stephen looked annoyed. Are you expecting someone else? Yes, our lawyer. Harrison Blake walked in, carrying his briefcase. Stephen and Jessica's faces changed immediately. What's this about, Mom? Stephen asked, his voice sharp. This is about your father's estate. You wanted to discuss it. So, let's discuss it. We moved to the dining room. The pot roast sat in the center of the table, untouched. No one was hungry now. Harrison sat at one end of the table. I sat at the other. Stephen and Jessica sat across from each other, looking nervous. Harrison opened his briefcase. I'm Harrison Blake, Bob's estate attorney. I'm here to review his will and final wishes. This seems a bit formal, Mom, Jessica said, trying to smile. We're family. We can handle this ourselves. No, I said firmly. We can't. Harrison pulled out documents. Bob Mitchell's last will and testament, revised 6 months ago, and notarized in my office. Bob was of sound mind and body at the time. This will supersedes all previous versions. He read the technical language. Stephen and Jessica listened impatiently. Then, Harrison reached the critical part. To my son Stephen Mitchell, I leave the sum of $1. To my daughter Jessica Collins, I leave the sum of $1. The remainder of my estate, including all property, financial accounts, retirement funds, and personal belongings, I leave entirely to my beloved wife Patricia Mitchell. The silence was deafening. Stephen's face turned red. That's ridiculous. $1? This is a joke. Jessica looked like she might cry. Mom, there must be some mistake. Dad wouldn't. There's no mistake, Harrison said calmly. Bob was very clear about his intentions, and he left a letter explaining his decision. Would you like me to read it? Yes, I said. Read it. Harrison pulled out Bob's letter to the children. His voice was steady as he read. Dear Stephen and Jessica, if you're hearing this, I'm gone, and you're probably angry right now. You're probably wondering how I could do this to you. So let me explain. 3 months ago, Jessica, you called me to ask about putting the house in your name. You said it was for estate planning. You're 39 years old, and I'm 70. I'm not dead yet, sweetheart. I was still living in that house. 6 weeks ago, Stephen. You called asking about my retirement accounts. You wanted to know exactly how much I had saved. When I wouldn't tell you, you said I was being difficult. You said you deserved to know what you were inheriting. Deserved. That word haunted me. 2 weeks before my heart attack, you both called me on the same day. You had clearly talked to each other first. You wanted me to sell the house and downsize. You said it was for my own good. But then you both asked if there would be money left over. You wanted your inheritance early. I realized something. You don't love me. You love what I can give you. And when I was dying in the hospital, you proved it. Stephen, you chose a business deal. Jessica, you chose a birthday party. Neither of you came to say goodbye. Your mother was alone when I died. She was alone at my funeral. She buried me alone. The woman who gave you life, who sacrificed everything for you, sat in an empty funeral home because you couldn't be bothered to cancel your plans. So here's what you deserve. $1 each. Symbolic. So you know this wasn't an accident or oversight. This was my choice. Everything goes to your mother. She earned it. 47 years of partnership, love, and loyalty. She deserves to live without worrying about money. She deserves to enjoy her life without you circling like vultures. Maybe someday you'll understand what you lost. Not the money. Me. Your father. The man who loved you unconditionally. Who would have given you anything if you'd just shown up. If you'd just cared. But you didn't. So you get $1 each. And you get to live with the knowledge of what you chose. I hope the business deal was worth it, Stephen. I hope the birthday party was fun. Jessica. Your father. Bob Mitchell. By the time Harrison finished reading, Jessica was crying. Real tears this time. Stephen sat frozen. His face pale. This is insane, Stephen finally said, his voice shaking. We'll contest this. We'll fight it. You can't just cut us out. Harrison closed the folder. You can try to contest it, but I'll warn you now, you won't win. Bob documented everything. He has dates, times, recorded conversations. He has medical records proving his sound mind. And most importantly, he has the legal right to distribute his assets as he sees fit. The will is ironclad. Jessica turned to me, her eyes pleading. Mom, please. You can override this. You can choose to share it with us. Dad was angry when he wrote this. But you don't have to follow through. We're your children. I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. She was beautiful, well-dressed, successful. And she was a stranger to me. You're right, I said quietly. You are my children. And your father died loving you. Even after everything, he loved you. But he also loved me. And he wanted me to be taken care of. For once in my life, I'm going to choose myself. So that's it? Stephen stood up, knocking his chair back. You're really going to do this? You're going to keep everything? Your father kept everything. I'm honoring his wishes. This is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Stephen grabbed his coat. Don't expect to hear from me. If you want to choose money over family, fine. But don't think I'll be calling you for Sunday dinners anymore. Stephen, I said calmly, you haven't called me for Sunday dinner in 3 years. He left. Slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Jessica stayed a moment longer. She was still crying. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry we didn't come to the funeral. I'm sorry for everything. Please don't do this. Please. Jessica, answer me honestly. If I gave you half of everything right now, would you come visit me next month? Would you call me once a week? Would you spend time with me? Because you love me, not because you need something from me. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I want to say yes, but you can't promise it, can you? She looked down. I don't know. Then your father made the right choice. Jessica left too. Quieter than Stephen, but just as final. Harrison and I sat alone in the dining room. The pot roast was getting cold. Are you okay? Harrison asked gently. I don't know, ask me in a few months. But the truth was, I felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. A weight I'd been carrying for years had lifted. The weight of trying to be the perfect mother, trying to make my children happy, trying to earn their love. I was free. Over the next few weeks, Stephen sent lawyers letters. They tried to contest the will. Harrison handled everything. Just as he predicted, they had no case. The will stood. Jessica sent text messages. Apologies, explanations, justifications. I read them all. I didn't respond. Linda checked on me every day. How are you holding up? Better than I thought I would, I admitted. We were sitting in my backyard, the place where Bob had his heart attack. I'd replanted the tomatoes. Is it wrong that I feel relieved? No, honey. It's not wrong. Sometimes love means letting go, even when it's your own children. 3 months after Bob's death, I did something I'd never done before. I joined a local community center. They had a support group for widows and widowers. Every Tuesday evening, 8 of us met in a small room and talked about loss, about grief, about rebuilding. That's where I met Dorothy, Helen, and Margaret. 3 other women who understood. We started meeting for coffee outside of the group. Then we started taking day trips together. Phoenix Botanical Garden, Sedona, the Grand Canyon. I can't believe I'm 70 years old and just now seeing the Grand Canyon, I said, standing at the edge of the south rim. The vast beauty stretching before us. Better late than never, Dorothy said. She was 73, had lost her husband 2 years earlier. That's what I tell myself every day. Better late than never. I used some of Bob's money to renovate the house. New kitchen, updated bathrooms, fresh paint. It wasn't our house anymore. It was my house, and I made it exactly how I wanted it. I donated $50,000 to the Phoenix Children's Hospital in Bob's name. He'd always loved kids, even if his own had disappointed him. I set up a scholarship fund at his old high school for students pursuing trades. Bob had been so proud of being an electrician. He believed in skilled labor. The money didn't change who I was, but it gave me freedom. Freedom to choose my life instead of living for others. 6 months after the funeral, on a sunny March morning, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Stephen and Jessica standing there. Together, they looked different. Older. Tired. Mom, Stephen said quietly. Can we talk? Please. I let them in. We sat in the living room, the same room where we'd had that terrible dinner meeting, but everything felt different now. Jessica spoke first. Mom, we've been in therapy, together and separately. We've been trying to understand how we became the people we became. How we hurt you and Dad so badly. And, I asked. Not unkind, just direct. And we were wrong, Stephen said. His voice cracked. We were so wrong. About everything. We took you both for granted. We saw you as resources instead of parents. We convinced ourselves that asking about money was normal, that missing the funeral was forgivable because we had good reasons. But there is no good reason. There never was. I've been replaying Dad's last months in my mind, Jessica continued. All the times he asked me to visit and I said I was busy. All the times he called and I let it go to voicemail because I didn't feel like talking. Mom, I wasted so much time, and I can never get it back. They both cried. Real tears, the kind that come from actual regret. Why are you here? I asked. What do you want from me? Nothing, Stephen said. We don't want anything. We just wanted you to know that we know we failed. We failed as children. We failed as human beings. And if you never want to see us again, we'd understand. We'd deserve it. I looked at them. My children. Despite everything, I still saw the little boy who used to bring me dandelions from the yard. The little girl who would climb into my lap and ask me to read her one more story. I forgive you, I said finally. But I want you to understand something. Forgiveness and trust are different things. I forgive you because holding on to anger hurts me more than it hurts you. But trusting you again, that will take time. Maybe years. Maybe never. We understand, Jessica said. And we'll accept whatever you can give. Even if that's nothing. I'm not giving you money, I said firmly. Your father's will stands. That's not negotiable. We don't want money, Stephen said. We want a relationship. If you'll have us, if you'll give us a chance to prove we've changed. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I'll give you a chance. One chance. But you have to earn it. You have to show up. Not for money. Not because you need something. Just show up. We will, they both promised. And you know what? They did. Slowly. Carefully. Stephen started calling once a week. Just to talk. He never asked about money. Never asked about the house. Just asked about my life. My day. My feelings. Jessica brought Emma to visit. We spent the afternoon in the backyard, planting flowers together. Emma asked me about her grandpa. I showed her photos, told her stories. Jessica cried as she listened. It wasn't perfect. There were awkward moments, tensions, old hurts that surfaced, but they kept showing up. And slowly, very slowly, something started to rebuild. Not what we had before. Something new, something different, something honest. A year after Bob's death, I stood at his grave on our anniversary. I brought white roses, his favorite. The Arizona sun was warm on my face. You were right, my love, I said to the headstone. They did regret it. And you were right that I needed to choose myself. I'm doing that now. I'm living my life. I have friends. I have purpose. I have peace. The wind rustled through the cemetery trees. For a moment, I could almost hear Bob's voice. I'm proud of you, Patricia. I'm proud of me too, I whispered back. I'm Patricia Mitchell. I'm 71 years old now. I live alone in a house on Maple Street in Phoenix, Arizona. My children visit sometimes. We're rebuilding, slowly. My grandchildren know my name. I volunteer at the Children's Hospital twice a week. I take painting classes at the community center. I travel with my friends. Last month we went to Santa Fe. Next month, we're planning San Diego. Is my life perfect? No. Do I still miss Bob every single day? Absolutely. Do I wish my children had shown up when it mattered most? Of course. But I learned something important that day. I sat alone at Bob's funeral. I learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about showing up. It's about being there when it's hard, not just when it's convenient. It's about love that shows itself in actions, not just words. Linda, my neighbor, was there. She showed up. She's family now. Dorothy, Helen, and Margaret from my support group, they check on me every week. They're family too. Harrison Blake, Bob's lawyer, still calls every few months to make sure I'm okay. He's become a friend. Family. And my children? They're working on it. They're learning. Maybe one day they'll fully understand what they lost and what they're trying to regain. Maybe they won't. Either way, I'll be okay. Because Bob gave me the greatest gift in his death that he'd given me in his life. The freedom to choose myself. To live for me. To be Patricia. Not just someone's wife or someone's mother. I'm 71 years old. And I'm just now learning who Patricia really is. And you know what? I like her. She's strong. She's independent. She knows her worth. She doesn't accept less than she deserves. It took me 7 decades to become this person. But better late than never, right? If this story touched your heart, if you've ever felt taken for granted or struggled with difficult family relationships, I want you to know something. It's never too late to choose yourself. It's never too late to demand respect. It's never too late to start over. You deserve people who show up. People who value you for who you are, not what you can give them. And if the people in your life can't do that, it's okay to step back. It's okay to choose peace over obligation. I chose peace, and for the first time in years, I'm truly happy. Where are you watching this from? Have you ever had to make a difficult choice like this? Share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes just knowing we're not alone makes all the difference. Every story carries within it an echo of our shared humanity. If this story has touched your heart, share it with someone special. Leave us a comment about what you felt, and subscribe to join us for more soul-reaching stories. Because every life tells a story that deserves to be heard. See you next time.